Hi everybody, I'm Blondeel. I'm Chief Evangelist at CHILI Publish. Welcome live from the headquarters in Aalst, and it's live because you noticed a few minutes delay. Sorry for that, we had a little hiccup. We're thrilled to bring you the news on CHILI GraFx, and to bring that story in the right way, I brought my colleagues Pieterjan and Jeroen, but I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yes, thank you, Bram. Hi, my name is Pieterjan and I'm product owner for CHILI GraFx at CHILI Publish.
Hi, and I am Jeroen. I'm product owner for Graphics Publisher and Graphics Studio at CHILI Publish as well.
Yes, thanks for joining us in this webinar, and today we'll talk about boosting your creative outputs. And in this session we will introduce our new multi-channel creative automation platform, CHILI GraFx. Now, before we dive into CHILI GraFx, let us take a step back and look at one of the main challenges we see that brands, retailers and agencies have today. And that's because marketing is becoming more and more phygital. As you can see on the slides, we see that the customer journey has a lot of touch points. And on the one hand, we have online touch points, being display ads, website, email, social ads. And on the other hand, we have a lot of offline touch points, being billboard ads and posters, for example. Now, the biggest challenge for marketeer is to scale their production of content, because there are more touch points they need to serve with an on-brand message. And by the way, in the meantime, their campaign has to be fully driven by data. It has to be highly effective and on-brand. So that's a big challenge that marketers see today. If you take a look at an example of a campaign that can be an example of a campaign, we see that, for example, this campaign starts on social media. So we have a campaign running on Instagram, but this is only one channel with one product, with one message. With the introduction of phygital, we see that there are more channels that needs to be served with the same message. So multiple channels means that, for example, the same campaign can run on billboards in the street. But that same campaign can also run for multiple products. So it's about creating more content and for more products in your campaign. Besides that, you can also have more messages to be told in the same campaign. So it's not about having more products, about having more messages. It's also about, for example, introducing more languages in your content production. And that's a big challenge we see that marketers have. So we talk about multiple channels, we talk about multiple products, we talk about multiple languages. And each time, content production needs to be done for print and offline and print and digital use cases. So it means that the content production becomes very complex for marketers. And that's why we have creative automation. If you look at the definition of creative automation, then we talk about the use of technology to boost creativity, production, and output in graphical processes while keeping excellence center stage. Now, before we can start with creative automation, we will need some ingredients. The first ingredient being media. And if we talk about media, we talk about created media. It's possible that there's metadata attached to your media, but you start with having assets. That's one of the key ingredients for creative automation. Second, we have brand guidelines. Because as a company, you have defined some brand guidelines that you want to be respected in your campaign. And then we talk about fonts, colors, brand identity, and so much more. Third one being data. Because today there's a lot of data available for marketers. We can talk about product information, but we also talk about customer information. Because there's a lot of data available on your customers. For example, where do they live? What did they buy? It means that you can bring personalized experience to your customers, but it's not always easy to gather the data and bring it to your content production process. Last one is business rules, because if you talk about creative automation, there are a lot of business rules to be respected. For example, there are laws and regulations that are applied in certain countries or regions that you need to respect. For example, on multiple contents, you have multiple currencies you need to think about. And also internally, when you have in your company multiple product families, it's possible that they have each their own discount rules. So the one discount can apply for one product family, but not for the other. So there's a lot of complexity, and to solve that complexity, we are introducing one platform. One platform being CHILI GraFx. CHILI GraFx is a multi-channel creative automation platform. This is the high-level definition of the platform. Now, as I already told you, multi-channel, then you talk about phygital. Phygital being print and digital use cases. Creative automation means that we can help you with solving the complexity by introducing a suite of apps that are supported by a marketplace of connectors. We will dive into that in a couple of minutes. And it's a platform, which means that all the applications, all the connectors, everything is available in one platform. Now, this is the high-level framework of CHILI GraFx, our multi-channel creative automation platform. First of all, it's important to mention that it's single sign-on, which means you have one account to log in on all applications, and it's also possible to have federated single sign-on, which means you can use your own corporate identities to log in on CHILI GraFx and to manage the users. And of course, it's also API first, because our CHILI GraFx solution can integrate in your MarTech ecosystem. Now, we have a couple of applications that can help you start doing creative automation, being Graphics Publisher, Graphics Studio, Graphics Media, Graphics Fonts, Graphics Style Kits, Graphics Data, and Graphics Insights. Now, before I give the word to Jeroen to dive a little bit into the applications, let me first give you a high-level overview of what the apps can do. On the one hand, we have Graphics Publisher and Graphics Studio. Those are the beating heart of CHILI GraFx, which means that those are the smart template builders you can use to start scaling up your production. But, of course, as I already told you, we have some ingredients to start doing creative automation, being media, fonts, style kits, and data. Those are the 4 applications you see in the middle. And on the right, we have analytics, because we want to know, because you would like to know the return on investment when you start doing creative automation. I suggest, Jeroen, we dive into the applications of Graphics Publisher and Studio, so up to you.
Thank you, Pieterjan. Indeed, there are 2 applications on the new CHILI GraFx platform that you can use to create smart templates. Those are Graphics Publisher and the new kid on the block, Graphics Studio. So let me first dive into Graphics Publisher. So this is actually the CHILI Publisher Online as you know it today, but it becomes an application on the new platform. Under the hood, it is still the same engine. This means you can still use your templates that you have today. Your integration or your custom solution will still work, or your workflow, that will all still work and still be the same. But it comes with some benefits. Because it's an application now on the platform, it also makes use of the single sign-on, which means one account to access all your publisher environments. It also will make use of the new Graphics Media and Graphics Fonts applications and all the benefits that come with that. So there are some benefits in it becoming an application on the platform. Now, if we look at Publisher, in 2022, more than 25 million PDFs were generated with Publisher. Over the past 10 years, Publisher has been a leader in creative automation in print, and as part of the CHILI GraFx family, it will continue to do so. Now, if you look at what Graphics Publisher can offer you, one of the key things is self-service. So this means a template designer can create a template, put some logic in there, and then offer it to an end user. An end user just needs to fill out a form, just some easy entries. As you can see here, you change a text, it automatically gets updated in the template, it is resized, repositioned. You can change the image. When you change the image, because of Smart Crop, it is also automatically positioned so that you always see the right subject within your page. You can change the width and height. And when you change the width and height, it is dynamically resizable. It will automatically select another layout as designed by the template designer with differently positioned frames and so on, so that it always looks nice and always you see the content that you want to offer. There's a self-service. Besides that, it's also data-driven, which means that you can take a template and feed it with data, lots of data. So you can just take a data set of hundreds or maybe thousands more of records. As Pieterjan already mentioned, it can be for different channels, it can be different products, languages, and it can quickly multiply to thousands of records. So you basically just take that template, feed it with data, send it to our server. On our cloud server, the output is generated completely in headless mode. Then what you get back is a print production ready PDF with all your different variants. So it's really creating output at scale for your print use cases. Now that's about Graphics Publisher. Now let's look at Graphics Studio. So the new smart template editor, and it's also data-driven. So it means template designer can configure the template in such a way that you can feed data to it, and that data will then change the template with other text, other images, can resize it, all to create all those different variants that you need for your multi-channel marketing. It is resizable and it is animated, which is something new. So in Graphics Studio, we're now entering even more the digital landscape. And besides static, which you can already do with Graphics Publisher, we're now also able to do animation with Graphics Studio. So there's a lot of, in the market, we hear that there's a lot of need for animation because animated content, it draws more attention, and because it draws more attention, you're more likely on all the digital channels to click on it, and there's higher conversion. So here's an example of some variants that are created with Graphics Studio. So it's one template, so one content, but different variants, so exported to different variants. So it's important because digital content is often consumed on different types of devices. Can be desktop, laptop, can be tablet, can be smartphone. This means that you most of the time need a lot of different dimensions for the same content. So here you can see just a little animation, some subtle pulses like the smartwatch, like the button. It's just to draw your attention and makes it more likely that you will click on the ad. Now, let us dive into Graphics Studio and how that template is actually created and how that looks like. So in Graphics Studio, so this is the new interface as you can see it here. And here we have our template, which is here the example of the Black Friday sale. We have here an image of the smartwatch. And here we have the different variants as you could see in the previous slide. So there's a half page, skyscraper, medium, square, billboard. As you can see, they all use the same content. So it's same content, but different layouts, differently positioned, resized. And those are animated. So I can play the animation. You see the pulse on the watch, the button appears, there's a background, so like a small subtle movement in the background. And the cool thing is, you actually need to set up the animation only once. So I just did that on the half page, did nothing else on the other layouts, but it still works. It's just dynamic. So you can create as many variants, as many layouts as you want, and that animation will just keep on working. So I can select another one, that animation just works. So really easy, and to prove it, I will create another layout. So let's say that I want to create one for mobile. So let's say it's 320 by 480. So I will resize the background. You reposition some frames here. This one a bit smaller. Put it here at the center. Same with the watch. So I can position it here. Then our Black Friday sale. Make it smaller. And as you can see, the font size is also adapting because I applied copy fitting, as you can see here, and then there's a date there. So now, I just made a new design quickly, but the really cool thing is, if I just hit the play button, that animation still works, because I already configured it for all layouts, and it just keeps on working. But I can still make some small tweaks. So if I could say, okay, let's say I want the text to fly in or to slide in from the left. Then I can say, okay, I'll slide in from the left. By default takes 1 second. We'll do it a bit faster. And after that, I want the date to have a fade in, let's say. So fade in also, let's say, about 0.8 seconds. Now if I play that, you will see text slides in, date fades in. So I made a small change to animation, and again, that is just applied everywhere. So here on the other layouts, you can still see that just dynamic. And here, even on the new layout that I just created, I can just hit the play button. That all still works. I can just export that to MP4 or a GIF. That works. Now, you can still make some tweaks. For instance, here the medium, you could say, okay, slide in from the left and it crosses the smartwatch. Maybe that's not what you want. So here you can say, okay, only for this layout, I want the text to slide in from the right. So I made that change. That slides in from the right. But then if you look at the mobile that I just created, there it still slides in from the left. So it will only slide in from the right on the medium and on the square, because that's a sub layout. So all very easy to do. It's very easy to create multiple variants. That's really important in the current digital landscape. The animation, you don't need to set it up for each layout time and time again. So very easy to do. Now, another thing that's of course important, it's data driven, is that you can feed data. So in this case, just created two variables, one to have the season, is it Black Friday or maybe Christmas season, and the date. So to show you, I can say here, it's not Black Friday, it's Christmas. You can see that the text is updated, and then here for the date, it's for instance 24th till 28th of December. Then you can see here in the template, this is just updated, and for the rest, it's all still the same, and that still works. So you can feed it with data. You can actually basically make everything from assets, text, everything controllable by data. So that's a quick introduction to Graphics Studio and how that works. So let me go back to the slides. So if we take a step back, then Graphics Studio, and actually not only Graphics Studio, but the whole CHILI GraFx platform is built upon a new technology stack. So this new technology stack does enable us to offer the best user experience to our template designers, to our end users, everyone who's using the platform in Graphics Studio and the other applications. It's making it very high performant, which means it's very responsive to use. It's easy to integrate, so to integrate it in your custom solution. And it enables a lot of endless connectivity. To enable all of that, it was important that we're using a new technology stack for that, and that new technology stack and all the things it has to offer, we truly believe that it will set a new benchmark for the future of creative automation. If we talk about endless connectivity, that's where connectors come into the picture. So connectors, Graphics Studio makes use of connector framework. Those connectors, you can basically connect to any system or service that has an API. Even our own applications like Graphics Media, Graphics Fonts, Graphics Style Kits, Graphics Data makes use of such a connector. But also any external system. So you could connect to your DEM system, PIM system, to your brand management platform, to whatever service is out there that has an API, you can connect. It's just a matter of just picking the right connector. And eventually this will evolve into a marketplace where you will be able to just go and shop and say, okay, I want this connector. Maybe there's a connector available for my DEM system. I will just use that one. So you just deploy the right connectors, then you just need to configure them, and then you're good to go. So it's as easy as just selecting it, configuring it, and setting up an integration to connect with all kinds of systems. So to your DEM, PIM can be an external service to retrieve images or data to whatever. Or it will also be possible to create your own connector. You could even can have a custom connector, but you can also offer it to others and create a community so that you say, okay, I'm a DEM vendor, I will create a connector to make it really easy for graphics users to connect to my system, and then you just offer it on our marketplace. That's a principle. That's actually it about Graphics Studio in a nutshell, so I hope you enjoyed that, and now I give the word back to Pieterjan.
Thank you, Jeroen. Looks very cool, Studio and Publisher. Now, let us take a step back and look at all the applications that we introduced to you. So, first, the Smart Template Builders, Publisher and Studio were just introduced by Jeroen, so I will not dive into that. But let us take step by step a look at the applications we use for resource management. So, as a reminder, the applications for resource management were those ingredients we need for creative automation. Now, first one being Graphics Media and Graphics Fonts. Now, Graphics Media is about storing and managing your media assets. And it's in fact our built-in media manager. It's the same for Graphics Fonts. Graphics Fonts is the place where you can centralize your licensed fonts in one location. Now, it's important to know, as you mentioned, there's a connector framework available. So Graphics Media and Fonts are the apps you can use by default. But if you have your own DEM system in place, you can replace it with that instead of Graphics Media. Important to know as well is that media and fonts are shared across the two applications, Graphics Studio and Graphics Publisher, which means that if you upload an asset on Graphics Media, it is available on Graphics Publisher and Graphics Studio. So we talked about media and fonts. Let's go to the next one, being style kits. Style kits is combining your fonts, colors, paragraphs, and character styles into one saved style kit. And that is available in Graphics Studio. It's a guarantee that your artwork stays on brand, and that's the case for all your clients and all your projects. Now, this is really important because we know that you want to be on brand, you want to have brand consistency, and you want to protect your brand. So how does style kits work? Well, in fact, on this slide you see one template. We have built one template, but each time we have applied a different style. We have applied another different style kits. So with the same template you can use different styles thanks to our style kit application. We talked about style kits. Let's go next to graphics data. Graphics data is about providing data to Graphics Studio to ensure you can do batch output. And in the end, it's about driving your fully automated graphical production. So in graphics data, you can manage data sets, and you can also define your data structures. As Jeroen already told, we have the connector framework. So once again, we have graphics data available as the default app. But if you have your own system in place for customer data platforms, other types of data sources you can replace it by you can replace graphics data with your own data source. So that's how you can drive your personalized campaigns. We talked about data. Let's talk about the last one, being analytics. And analytics is the application we introduced to give you more insights on the return on investment on your templates. Because you're building a lot of templates, but in the end you want to know if they are used the right way, how many outputs were created, and so much more analytics you would like to know. And in the end, it's all about making you becoming a creative automation leader. Because giving you more insights in how the creative automation process is going will help you with that. And to conclude that, we started with the definition of what is creative automation about. So it was about the use of technology to boost creativity, production, and output in graphical processes while keeping excellence center stage. We do believe that CHILI GraFx is the platform that will help you to create at scale. So thanks a lot for joining this webinar. Okay, Jeroen, let's now take a look at the questions that we have received via the chat. So let's see.
Thank you, Pieterjan. Thank you, Jeroen. That was a great explanation. But as always, I guess there's people that have a few questions, and there's a few questions already coming in. While you are also adding more questions, let me meanwhile also start a poll. We have a few polls because since we have you online, it would be good to ask for your opinion. Let me maybe first start with a question that came in from Mr. Sutherland. And he asked us, is it possible in Graphics Studio to insert animated media into the templates? For example, the background of the ad, could that be an animated MP4 as like a video?
I think that's a very good question. At this moment, it is not possible yet, but we do see value in that, and it is on the roadmap to eventually support animated content as well. But at this stage, not yet. So not in the near future, but eventually, that is something that we see value in, and that will come.
Super, thank you. Another question that came in from Anonymous. Let me publish that question. Is will my current CHILI publisher still work in graphics? That's
maybe let me answer that question as well. So as already explained, so Graphics Publisher under the hood, it's the same engine as CHILI Publisher Online as you know it today. So nothing changes there. So the integration stays the same, the templates still work, the whole workflow, everything is still the same. So no worries there, that will just work. Continue working. The API is the same, it's versioned, and that continues to work as today.
Thank you, and very good. I see more questions are coming in. What are the outputs available for animated banners? I think it's again one for you.
Yes, yeah, the
Yes.
Graphic Studio question. That is, for animated output, it's MP4 and GIF. So animated GIF and MP4 for animated output. Yeah. You can also do static output, which is JPEG and PNG.
All right, short answer. There's also one, can we export as HTML like for email distribution? Or is it on the roadmap?
It's similar, yeah, similar answer as a previous one with the animated input, animated content. But again, it's something that we want to do, but also not on the short term.
Yeah.
So now we're focusing on evolving Graphic Studio towards now digital animated for MP4 and animated GIF. And then we will look at adding print, enabling PDF export, adding print features, print workspace and so on. And then we also will look into other output formats like HTML, because we do know that there is also a lot of people are asking for it. There's a need in the market for that, so it is on the roadmap.
But maybe if I can add, since we are API first platform, I think you can integrate it into your own workflow without having the HTML already. You could output like an animated image, GIF, and movie, and then use it in your own HTML.
Yeah, you can use our engine just as an engine, and it's API driven.
Yeah.
So Graphic Studio, there's no difference there compared to Graphics Publisher. It's a different API, but the concept is still the same. So you can still integrate it and integrate it in your workflow, in your custom solution, and yeah, just continue from there.
Thank you. There's a few more questions coming in. I will, maybe that's one for Pieterjan. Does the graphics media support metadata?
Yes, it will. Yeah, so it will be able to attach metadata, not in first phase, but it's one of the, let's say, one of the next features we will add.
All right, super. Another one, any possibilities to 3D animated content in the future now, and then some USD, GITF in between brackets with a 3D viewer engine in your solution? I think that maybe is to be linked to the connector framework.
Yes, indeed. So there's a connector framework, as we explained, and you can basically connect to any API-driven system or service. So if you would connect to a service that takes in images and then maps that to a 3D model, then you can perfectly use our Graphic Studio for that. So you just have a connector, and you just edit the template, and then you can see it live using that connector. It's updating, and then so with connectors, there's no built-in functionality for that in the near future, but maybe at some point we will. When we have a marketplace, there will be connectors available to link to things like Sketchfab or similar tools.
Thank you. Another one on media. The assets in media, are they only photos, for example, or any other file format is possible?
For now, we have photos, but if there are questions or demands about other types of formats, I'm happy to hear them, so please reach out, I would say.
No,
I think today there's also like PDF, there's a static
Yeah.
images.
Mm.
Maybe it's important to know that for graphics media, the supported formats will in first phase be the same as what is supported today in the assets from Chili Publisher Online, but eventually that can also evolve into like as in the previous questions, if there's animated content that can be used as input, then that could be an additional file format, for instance. But at this moment, it's the same as what we support today.
Okay, maybe there's one for me. And the question is, are you able to share pricing ranges? I think that would be out of the scope for this webinar, but we're more than happy if you reach out to us to look at your needs and to come up with a proposal that fits your needs. So we won't share them right here, but feel free to reach out to us. And then, we talked about timelines, but Samuel asked us, what is the timeline for the migration from Chili Publisher to Graphic Studio? Are we talking 1 year, 2 years?
Well, then Graphics Publisher and Graphic Studio will actually coexist for quite some time. So at this moment with Graphic Studio, the focus is on digital. But as I already mentioned, eventually that will also involve print. And while we are adding features, print features and other things, we will see that customers will start, and we will also encourage them to do so, will start to create their new templates with Graphics Studio instead of with Graphics Publisher. So organically, new templates, then the amount of active templates in Publisher will decrease, the amount of active templates in Studio will grow. And we will look at that, we will assess that, and eventually when we see that our customers are making the switch towards Graphics Studio, we can look at phasing out Graphics Publisher at some point in time, because we do believe in that Graphics Studio is the future within CHILI GraFx. So eventually Graphics Publisher will fade out, but then we're looking at least 3 years from now, and that will also depend on like how our customers will make the move towards Graphics Studio.
Yeah. So it will take a while before we do the full transition.
Yes, but we truly believe that, because if you look at all the new technology stack, all the benefits of Graphics Studio, as soon as we will add those new features that customers will want to make the switch towards new template creation, to do that in Graphics Studio.
I think that's why it's impossible. It's important to know that media and fonts are shared across the two editors. Yeah. That's why we do this, because we know that they will exist next to each other for a couple of years. So that's why it's shared, media and fonts. That's one of the main reasons.
Thank you. There's a lot more questions coming in.
Maybe the first one I can...
Indeed, but first, before we go there, let me also launch the second poll. So if you don't have a question, have a look at the polls already. And one of the polls is, what is the application you're most excited about? We will launch a lot of applications in the platform over time. So please feel free to put in your favorites. Another question from Guillaume. Is it possible to modify MP4 GIF export parameters to adapt to the quality and the weight we want?
Yes, so I can answer that at this point. So Graphics Studio is in alpha phase. So at this point, when you do an export, you cannot configure it yet, but there will be export settings, and that's very similar to the image conversion profiles and PDF export settings as you know it today for Graphics Publisher, but then it will be for the animated content, where you will be able to set, for instance, frames per second or the maximum file size, indeed, because we know that is sometimes by some channels a requirement that it doesn't go, that it has a maximum file size, and then we can guarantee maximum quality for that file size. So,
but I would imagine you cannot compress a 1 hour animation into 10 kilobytes. That would
it depends on the quality that you that you want.
But indeed, it will be able through settings, profiles. Yeah. Super. I'm making a selection because there's a lot of questions coming in. That's maybe an interesting one, but we already answered it. How the Publisher and Studio will be connected. Is it possible to export templates from Publisher into Studio and use create variable layouts in Studio? It's similar to a bit of the other question.
So the thing is that Graphics Publisher and Graphics Studio, they share the same concepts, but they're built on a different technology stack, so they are not compatible. Yeah. Also the integration, the concepts are the same, but it's different. So no, you cannot use a template from Publisher in Studio, but with the new template designer workspace, it's also faster to create new templates. With the some features are redesigned from scratch to make it easier to quickly create new templates. We will also provide plugins, as we have today. We will also look at plugins for other tools as well to make that template creation a lot easier. But those are not compatible, and that's a decision we had to make. Like, if you want to make it compatible, then you're actually holding back your development on the new product. And we want it to be like full featured as soon as possible, and to not have that handbrake on, because you want to guarantee that compatibility. That's a decision we had to make.
You mentioned the new tech stack, and indeed it's also important to mention we take care of the designers, but we also take care of the developers. That's why the new tech stack is also important for developers that their experience is also improved a lot. Also that part of the tech stack has improved. So that will help out to deploy a new setup very quickly, and that's why we made the choice to change indeed.
Mhm.
Let me see if we can, because we are get a lot of input. That's very nice. One from Tom: does Graphic Studio support the same level of rules as available in the original software? About object anchoring, auto-grow, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the concepts are still the same, like auto-grow, something we will again have. Anchoring also, but we are looking, because it's a new technology stack, because it's a new product, it gives us the opportunity to like go back to the drawing board and rethink some concepts. So anchoring will be different. So anchoring dynamic layout formulas, as you know it today, we look at what are the strengths, what can you do with it, but how can we make it easier to use, and how can we even get more out of those features, and that gives us those possibilities. So yes, it will be there, but under a different form. Same with actions. So actions now will be JavaScript actions. There's a lot of benefits because I will also run server-side, for instance. We will make it really easy to set up. Eventually we will go to an action library where you can export and import actions that you maybe very often use. Will it also make it easier for less tech-savvy template designers who can then just go to the action library and then pick an action there and easily configure it. Yeah. So yes, same concepts, same features. So basically every feature that we know that customers are using, every important feature will eventually become available in Graphic Studio.
So Tom, if there's a few of your favorite features, please let us know, that we will take care of it to bring them along. If there's enough support, I guess, for the feature that we'll bring along. All right, questions keep coming in. What we'll do is we'll wrap up here with the questions. Otherwise, I guess we can go on for a while. But I want to thank you for your attention and your interactive questions, and thank you guys for joining us and being here and presenting the new stuff to the world. Thank you for that, and thank you all for joining. To finish up, a few people asked if this webinar will be online. Since we're streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, you can always rewatch it there. But of course, keep also an eye on the website, because I guess the marketing people will also provide this to the audience, so it will be available there. Thank you so much, and see you the next time.